the batteries that's coming for the home is going to be not lead acid, or it's not going to be lithium. It's going to be sodium ion batteries, really cheap, but really heavy. You don't have to worry about fire risk with sodium ion because it's basically salt water.
Apple and Tesla just performed a forward stock split. This means they increased the number of shares while decreasing their stock price, making it more affordable for the average investor to have a piece of the pie. I was able to profit myself because I learned to trade through Trade Genius Academy on the crypto side. I took part in various courses, personal coaching, chat rooms, Signals trading tool. That's where I look for price signals in cryptocurrency from Bob Kudla at TradeGeniusAcademy.com, who also offers other signature trading tools for stocks, exchange-traded funds, binary options, and commodities. All you need is an internet connection to get started. Interact with Trade Genius community, fellow traders, and certified Trade Genius trades, alongside professionals who generate revenue for themselves in the stock market every single day. Live buy and sell alerts text to your phone, built for both new and experienced traders. So what are you waiting for? Sign up and see what the hype is all about at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Use the promo code Columbus for 40% off all non-bundled items. Click on the link in the description box below, and now on with the interview. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, Bob Kudla, TradeLikeAGenius.com. We are going to talk about the electric economy. Because as you see across the world, it doesn't matter what nation you're in or what government body, they're all talking about the shift away from fossil fuels right into this new renewable economy that's supposedly the base of the global GDP from this point forward, moving into 2050, 2060. Do appreciate you joining. Hope you get something out of our conversation. The world is definitely shifting, and this could very well be a peek around the corner into how our electricity is going to be generated, transportation systems, and everything moving forward that way. So, Bob, thanks for joining me. The floor is yours.
The government needs to produce in excess of $1 trillion in deficit a quarter, or we collapse into a deflationary depression. So they're going to have to raise the Fed balance sheet by $4 trillion next 12 months, or we're going to go into massive deflation.
Bob, how do you think that's going to take place? I have my own ideas on how they would go into that. Negative interest rates is one very minor, and that's the one they put out in front of the media, so somebody has a talking point.
They're going to directly fund individual Americans' accounts.
You think they're going to go that way? Well, that would require a digital wallet for every single American to get that in their hands immediately, and then force that velocity of money out the door on the backside to try to create that reverse of the deflation into the inflationary spectrum there.
Yeah, they won't do digital wallets at first because people would know what to do with them. They're going to, just like they did with the stimulus check, the IRS has everybody's bank account information. So they're just simply going to use the IRS and fund people's accounts. Eventually, they'll go to digital dollars and create a different thing. But can you imagine people who never even heard of crypto being told to get a digital wallet, and then they lose their wallet? That's like secondary kind of event. But they're going to do bank accounts first, and then they're going to do infrastructure. Look, the stimulus package is going to be $1 to $2 trillion. We're going to go into the first quarter of next year, and you're going to see a $2 trillion infrastructure bill. And they're just going to keep doing this, Dave, until they create a bit of stagflation. And then they're going to try to raise interest rates and then have people pour money into savings accounts and see if they can create some sort of an environment where, savings can be used then in the future. Look, they're going to try to get through the next 10 to 12 years. So the baby boomers have to roll off, in terms of them taking more out of the system than going into the system. So they got to keep all the pension plans intact. That's why when people calling for crash, it's not going to happen. They will. That's why they talk about we'll heat up the economy more. They can't afford to have the stock market crash because it'll crash all the pensions. So they rather have everybody, suffer through inflation, with an inconvenience versus a total collapse of the financial system. Whether we like it or not, that's the plan. whether it's effective or not, depending on which side of that coin you're going to sit. So I rather be on the right side of the coin and profit from what they're going to do versus being on the wrong side of the coin and scream and moan about it.
Let me ask you then, so the 4 trillion for this year, and then they're just going to continue 2021, 22. I read a report they were looking at about 100 trillion excess by 2050. So that kind of fits right in that same vein there over the next 20 to 30 years. But how much of that do you think is going to be rediverted right over into getting this green economy kick-started? Because if you're talking about never-ending printing that's going to go on 2 to 4 trillion, 5 trillion a year, how much is that going to be earmarked for what we've been talking about earlier here to get this these new power systems up and running and get people more in tuned with coming on to a green new way of getting your energy and shifting your life? Because a lot of us have things that we've bought over our lifetime, and then you're telling me suddenly that my gasoline powered riding mower is not going to be viable anymore, that I have to turn it in or I can't buy fuel for it. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes of equipment that people are going to need to buy. So how much do you think of this money is going to roll directly in that to get it kickstarted over the next, say, 2, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I think they'll let all the equipment roll off. So I mean, look, these things all have lives. A mower, what, 5, 10 years, a car, 10, 15 at the most, right? Trucks, 15, 20. So they'll provide whatever incentives they need to get people to invest in the next technology. It won't be as draconian as people think, because there's already been major pushback on the Green New Deal. I think it's number 37 out of things that people worry about. So it's going to be really couched in terms of infrastructure kind of events. Like they do with Elon Musk. Hey, get a electric car. We'll subsidize $17,000. That kind of garbage will be used. Those will be euphemisms, because they got to get half the country that doesn't even believe it. And as we go into the grand solar minimum, the whole global warming thing will be debunked anyway. So they're gonna pivot off a Green New Deal after this election, and they're going to go more towards infrastructure, the electric economy. You heard Trump already pitched at the debate, I want clean air and water, right? Who's against clean air and water, right? So that's where the marketing is going to come from, and I think that's how it's going to be positioned for people. The politicians already see that people are pushing back against this, and no matter how vengeful and ignorant the Democratic leadership is, they know they can't push too hard on this string, or they'll get blown out of office. So that's how I think it's gonna play out.
Yeah, I can attest also with this rollover out of, myself, since I just bought a farm out here and I'm buying a lot of tools and a different kit, if you will, for working out there. I was surprised on how many are now battery operated, everything from skill saws to chainsaws and everything in between. Because the last time I remember buying that was all either plug it in the wall or gasoline driven and something like this with the higher power. But now the batteries are able to keep up with that high power. Go use a chainsaw for half an hour out in the forest and it still runs on a 40-volt battery after 20 minutes, 30 minutes of cutting. And you go back and plug it in for a few and you're right back out again. The old Husqvarna that I had, and the blue smoke everywhere. But the amount of transition that's already occurred in the consumer economy for just getting your yard, things about the yard. And now they do have electric riding mowers and electric, push mowers, all that thing. So that is coming gradually as it kind of works its way through.
Yeah, look, that's all happening. And, and you talk about the farm, it'll be automatic, there'll be robo farms and, but you said something about the battery technology. I want to let you know what's coming on the battery side. I don't know if your listeners know, but for nearly, I guess it was 15, I guess around 15 years. So I owned a solar energy company. We just recently shut it down. There's no profit in it for us on the retail side anymore. We saturated SoCal with solar panels. So you don't need 50 of us running around there anymore. But when we were loading battery technology and, we were using marine batteries, but the batteries that's coming for the home is going to be not lead acid, or it's not going to be lithium. It's going to be sodium ion batteries, really cheap, but really heavy. And you'll start seeing Just like they're doing built-in roofs, you'll start seeing built-in walls, right? When they build the garage, they'll probably have a sodium ion bank of batteries, for you. And, you don't have to worry about fire risk with sodium ion because it's basically salt water. That's what you're going to see coming. And they already have commercial level the sodium ion batteries already. They know they work. And that's what's going to probably come into the homes eventually. And you don't have to worry about fire risk on them, and they're going to be dirt cheap. And you're going to be able to bank electricity, in your home. And, I don't know if most homes can produce enough energy to be self-sufficient. In Southern California, depending on how your house is laid out, like my house, I can do 100%. But these bigger homes that, you think have all this roof space, well, it's all cut up because of design, architecture. You can't put enough solar panels on the roofs to make it worth their while. So you're going to see like Elon Musk did and what they did in Lanai with they're creating that huge big solar farm and battery backup system that's going to feed the grid in Oahu. They're going to run a cable undersea 50 miles from Lanai to basically Honolulu, and they're going to provide energy into that island. So you're going to see more that, like you see, I don't know if you've been out to Vegas, but between Vegas and where I live on Route 15, they have these big, huge solar farms that aren't made for photovoltaic. They're basically solar concentration systems. And so what they do now with that is that they whatever's not being used during the day gets stored in molten salt. And that provides the pressure, the heat for pressurizing and creating generation for the city. And so when they get to put tertiary systems on these things, so when you talk about the air compression and stuff like that, they'll be able to run those systems all the way through like midnight, 1 a.m, and you're going to start seeing systems out there like that. 100 square miles can cover solar, but the problem is you can't get it. Once you get more than like 100 or 150 miles away, you lose too much voltage and it becomes just not practical. So anything east of Denver, solar panels are too expensive to be practical. So you're going to have to then go with things that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, that's concentrated solar power where they have all the mirrors around there that's focusing on a single tower and then it's driving down. Because what's that molten salt melting at? 700 degrees or so?
C,
yeah. So the high voltage direct current cables, I remember they were working on that back around like 2008, really trying to perfect that to overcome that barrier of trying to get power from one place to another without losses in the lines. These same bottlenecks in 2008 are still here 12 years later. And I'm thinking, how is that? If they put all these billions and billions in to try to come to this point, could they not have developed a transmission cable with billions of dollars through all these research agencies in the United States?
They know what they need to do. It's just expensive. You got to dope the lines with gold. So, you get less resistance. It's just line resistance. It just, over time, it just turns the heat and dissipates. So, we have direct current on my house. You have direct, they used to run it into an inverter and, AC it into your house. Now we're taking, direct right off the roof, and then we convert it to AC individually by panel. So now they're AC in the panels right in, it's integrated, but it only has to run 20 feet, but we still lose 7%. So
really?
Yeah, because when any equipment you run it through, you're going to lose power. Well, that's the conversion from DC to AC.
Conversion, yeah.
Yeah, so then you have the line loss too. So yeah, but I mean, we're heading there, and it's all coming. So it's just going to be a matter of there's like solar paint coming and stuff like that. But really, where rubber's going to meet the road, where the big money is going to be interested in, they're not interested in solar. The utilities want to control the production of energy. They don't want to give it to you and me. So they're going to back the nuclear plants. Okay, they're going to pump this energy into your home, and the deal is going to be during the day, electric's going to be expensive. During the night, electric's going to be cheap. Leverage that by putting in battery backups, charge your car, and off you go. So That's what it's going to be. And around here, we're already seeing a transition. I mean, you and I probably could talk for 5 hours on this stuff. We're just seeing a plethora of the electric bikes. You know, I work at home all the time, but with the lockdown, I mean, I fill my tank maybe once a month with gas, once a month. And if I had an e-bike, I probably would fill my tank once every 2 months, because most of the time I'm going to run up to the store real fast. We're going to run and get a cup of coffee. We're going to run down to the gym. All those things are within a mile of my house. But every time I hop in the car, you take a 150 2-mile trips and you use your tank up. You know what I mean? So you're always running out 4 or 5 different places during the day. It adds up. I probably use 2 gallons of gas every 3 days. And that's kind of how it works for me. And then, but you can hop in the bike and I can get anywhere within 30 miles because the e-bikes, you charge them by yourself, but you're seeing everybody with them now. So I think those are the kind of transitions you're going to see, and that's just going to drive the demand for more energy into the home. And they don't want to do coal. So they only have a couple choices, nat gas and uranium.
Yeah, I can attest firsthand to the ease and comfort and power of those electric bikes. Not only the standalone bike where there's no pedals on it, where you just pull the throttle and you go, but also the hybrid. When we go riding, sometimes you can ride 30 miles quite easily, and you're not, because you get that power assist going up the hills. You can take it incredibly fast on the straightaways. If you get going, you can get 30 miles an hour out of those things easily. And that power assist uphill, it's like you're not even barely pedaling. And I am a huge fan of those, especially if we go right out in the national park somewhere. And there's quite a few. It's in East Tennessee. There's a lot of mountains here. So when you're going up and down and up and down, the downhill's great. The straightaways are great. You can stop and look at the bears out over there, or whatever wildlife is there. Look at the guinea fowl, whatever. But those uphills will kill you. And, going through a day around some of the tracks that are, 30 miles that are only open for bikes, 40 miles on paved surfaces, you are worn out unbelievably at the end of that if you don't. We would go around twice with the electric bike. I'm a huge fan of that, except they're targets for theft right now because they're quite expensive and people understand what they are. But if everybody has one eventually, I think the amount of automobiles and more, if you're going to stay in a city, in a smart city, then that would be the way to go. Now, if you're going to drive, like for me, I have a farm and I routinely load 500 pounds of seed in the back of my pickup, 800 pounds of seed. You're not doing that on an electric bike. So there'll always be needs for traditional vehicles. But that getting around, and in China when I was living over there, there were so many of them. It was a main mode of transportation. So if you got 100 million people using that electric bike in China as their daily mode of transportation, especially in the flat cities like Chengdu, far out west, not Chongqing, because that's too mountainous, Shanghai, anywhere that's real flat, Shenzhen, they're all using these electric bikes down there. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to try one to see the power those things have. They're gonna, Bob, they'd be shocked about, whoa, this thing, like a wheelie knock you off the back.
Yeah, they'll pay for themselves. I mean, and if you use them with regularity, you'll get a good return on investment on them. I think people need to take a look at this stuff, and I think this is the value that we provide at Trade Genius. I've been watching these things for a while. Dave, you and I, we started talking about this stuff together in probably 2014.
Mm-hmm. It has been that long. Yeah, I can't believe it's already almost 7 years
now. And we've been following that stuff, and I've been trading in and out of this stuff for 5 or 6 years. And if people want to trade with me and follow this stuff, I highly encourage it. Go to tradelikeagenius.com. I'm most interested in these things. They're going to make you money, and you can just trade in and out of these things until they get a trend, and we just ride the trend. And we trade in and out of them again. But there's the way that it's working now in the market is that we go from precious metals to commodity metals. One other stock I'll mention is FCX, is Freeport-McMoRan. That's been driving up. The market's been crazy, but it just keeps going higher. Copper and gold company. So, come check us out. I put some really nice special together to the 17th for your listeners, Dave.
Anyway, thanks for your time. Great insights today, and glad I learned a couple things talking with you too, especially about the sodium ion, because I, out on the farm, am looking for a battery storage. We were going to originally go with lead acid because that's the most common thing, but seeing if you're going to bend around the corner and that's going to be the go-to, and that's going to, well, why not place it now? And as the tech catches up, then those things become more common. You're already ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah. So if you're going to put batteries on, look at marine batteries. Those are the ones you want. But talk to your dealer about what's going on with sodium ion. They're pretty much industrial right now, but they're out there. Go ahead and do some research on it. But I say in 3 to 5 years, you're going to start seeing them.
All right. You heard it here first. Bob Kudla, tradelikeagenius.com. Always appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Hope you did get something out of the interview here. Tell us what you learned. Leave a comment in the description box below about what you thought was most interesting, fascinating about our talk moving to the electric economy. Because I do read every single comment. I might not respond to everyone, but I always read every comment. If you're going to spend your time to write it, I'm going to spend the time to read it. So leave us a comment below. What'd you like about the interview?
Thanks, Dave.
All right. See you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.